Hey beer nerds, this is Ryan from Beer by the Numbers, and ever since I started this channel about a year and a half ago, I've been stuffing my head full of beer facts. Some led to some great videos exploring topics like breaking the seal or crazy beer glassware, but some of those facts have proven less than useful when it comes to making me an informed beer lover. So today, I thought I'd put together a video with some of the facts that are more useful as bits of trivia to prove how smart you are, rather than full video topics. So if you're excited to dive into some beer facts, hit that like button below. Now, on to 20 pretty useless facts about beer. Number 1. Cenosilicophobia is the fear of an empty beer glass. There's some debate out there whether this is an actual condition or just some slang term made up by a few beer nerds. The term seems to come from Greek. Seno, or kinos in Greek, is a prefix for empty, and silica, quartz in Greek, but it's clearly intended here as glass, so the word would seem to mean empty glass fear. Now, there's not a lot of verifiable medical literature on this fear, leaving me a little bit skeptical, but I'm going to keep a well-stocked beer fridge, just in case. Number 2, slugs really enjoy beer. They enjoy it so much that they'll happily dive into a pool of it and drown. A common slug trap for angry gardeners is to simply bury a small container with some beer in the bottom, and those beer-loving slugs will happily dive into their doom. Number 3. In the 1600s, midwives created super strong beers to help ease the pain of childbirth. Interestingly, even modern midwives advise drinking a small amount of beer to get milk production started after childbirth. Number 4. Ancient Egyptian texts have been found that contain over 100 medicinal uses for beer. In fact, many of mankind's first writings were dedicated to tracking quantities of beer. So next time you have a cold one, remember that people were motivated to write so they could properly brew and keep track of all their beer. Number 5. The Vikings believed that when they died, a giant goat would be waiting for them. Of course, this goat's udders had an unending supply of beer. I may or may not now be adopting the old Norse gods. Go Thor. Number 6. Storing bottled beer upright minimizes oxidation and contamination from the cap. Bottle caps are pretty great seals, but even they are not immune to the sands of time. Keeping the beer from direct contact with the cap can minimize damage to the seal, keeping your delicious beer fresh. Number 7. The word hangover in Norwegian is directly translated to carpenters in the head. No wonder it always feels like my head is pounding. Number 8. Jelly Belly, the candy company famous for their insane variety of flavors, has a draft beer flavored jelly bean. People really seem to like it, and they come in a variety of cool can and bottle containers. I may have found my new favorite candy. Number 9. Beer is a great motivator, historically speaking. The ancient Egyptians paid their citizens and slaves in beer up to 4 liters per day. And although beer was quite a bit weaker back then, alcohol-wise, that's still quite a bit of beer to go through each day. Number 10. Speaking of the ancient world, the oldest ever advertisement dates back to 4000 BC, and I'm pretty sure you can guess what they were selling. Beer. A tablet was found in Mesopotamia with an image of an ample-breasted woman holding jugs of ale. Next to the image, the writing said something like, "Drink Elba, the beer with the heart of a lion." Some things just never change, huh? Number 11. The most expensive bottle of beer ever sold was Alsop's Arctic Ale. This bottle of beer was brewed in 1875 for an Antarctic expedition, so I'm guessing that it really isn't all that safe to drink today. It was first sold on eBay for a meager $304, because the original seller listed the name of the bottle Alsop's, missing one of the P's at the end. 8 weeks after that sale, the bottle was back on eBay. This time, Alsop's was spelt correctly. It received 157 bids from 56 unique bidders and closed with a mind-boggling winning bid of $503,300. Crazy. Number 12. Nearly 1%, 0.7% to be precise, of all people in the world are drunk right at this very moment. Are you one of them? But seriously, 0.7 of all humanity is still like 53 million people. That's pretty staggering. Number 13, Barack Obama was the first US president to brew his own beer in the White House. He was inspired by homebrewers and he bought a brewing kit and brought it into the White House kitchen where he brewed the White House Honey Ale. The recipe is pretty widely available online if you want to get a little presidential with your next brew session. Number 14, Louis Pasteur heavily studied beer and yeast during his important research into the microbial world. Not only did beer help this famous scientist, but interestingly, Pasteur selected beer as his research subject to get back at the Germans. Towards the end of life, he wrote, "Our misfortunes inspired me with an idea of these researches. I undertook them immediately after the War of 1870, and have since continued with them without interruption, with the determination of perfecting them and thereby benefiting a branch of industry where we are undoubtedly surpassed by Germany." Essentially, Pasteur funneled his anger over the French loss of the Franco-Prussian War into attacking what Germany loves most, their beer. He hoped to increase knowledge about the science of beer brewing, and it put France in a better position so they could beat Germans in the beer industry. Number 15, the term rule of thumb originates from brewers who would stick their thumb into the mix to see when the temperature was right for adding the yeast. Guessing they're a little more talented than me and my infrared thermometer. Number 16, it is alleged that the longest ever hangover took place after a Scotsman drank just over 28 liters of beer. It is said that his hangover lasted for 4 weeks. Now, that's one world record I would not be proud to hold. Ouch. Number 17, not all malts contain gluten. Many people think that malt is a gluten-based product, but any grain can be malted, really. Gluten-free grains include maize, sorghum, rice, and a whole host of others. Number 18, the first recorded drunk driving incident took place in 2000 BC. In ancient Egypt, an inebriated charioteer was apprehended after running down a Vestal virgin of the goddess Hathor. The culprit was crucified on the door of the tavern that sold him the beer, and his corpse was allowed to hang there until the vultures picked it clean. Some pretty hardcore punishments back then, man. Number 19, after he won the Nobel Prize, Niels Bohr was given a perpetual supply of beer piped into his house. Had I known that the prize for atomic research was a bunch of beer, I may have chosen a different field. And number 20, back in the 1990s, the Beer Lovers Party ran candidates in Belarus and Russia. Unfortunately, no winners ever came from the Beer Lovers political party. So there you go, now you're a little bit smarter about the wide world of beer. What's your favorite bit of beer trivia that you know? Let me know in the comments section below. Once again, this has been Ryan with Beer by the Numbers, and I'll see you in the next video.